Assalamu alaikum and good day to each and everyone. Again, I am Hana M. Ali and today we will discuss the social groups, the types of social groups, the structures, and dynamic. But my only part here is to discuss what really is social groups and the classification of it and the structures, the types of social groups. So, yung structures and dynamics of social groups is i-discuss ng kasunod na reporter. So now, let's proceed to what exactly is a social group. So, the social group, based on the definition, a social group consists of two or more people who interact with one another and who recognize themselves as a distinct social unit. And also, it is stated here that a true social group exhibits some degree of social cohesion and is more than a simple collection or aggregate of individuals. So it means that it is not just a bunch of people standing together like a crowd waiting for a bus. A social group is a collection of individuals who interact. It is more on interaction, talk, share ideas, and build relationships. It is about the communication and the connection. So also, we recognize ourselves as a unit, like we feel like we belong together. So think of your barkada, your family, or your team. Like we feel the sense of we or us. So it is also important to understand that not every collection of people is a social group. There are other concepts that are often confused with social groups. Yan yung mga social categories, social aggregates. So the social categories are groups based on shared characteristics like gender, race, or religion, but without necessarily interacting. For example, all women share a biological sex, but they don't form a group just because of that. So remember that social group focus more on frequent interaction that leads people to share values and beliefs. So, in social aggregates naman is, yan yung mga, isipin yung mga crowd at a concert or yung mga football game. So, like, they are in the same place at the same time, but are they really a social group? Again, not necessarily. They might be there for the same event, but they don't really interact. Like maybe just a quick excuse me or high five, and that's it. So, hindi ang social group talaga is yung example niya is yung aside sa family and close friend is yung team na like playing basketball, like they really interact, makikita mo na nakikipag-interact and they share common goal and have sense of unity. So that's the social group. So now let's proceed to the classification of social groups. So social groups can form in different ways, like depending on the reason for their existence. So the first one here is deliberate formation groups. So these groups are formed with a specific purpose in mind, like they're intentional, planned, and goal-oriented. Like they have specific objectives, like they have goal to achieve. And then include na dito yung work group. So isipin niyo yung mga team working on a project or yung mga group of students collaborating or on a research paper. So like they work together, like they work hard together, like they pool their skills and resources to achieve a common goal. And then the next is problem solving group. So this is the groups that like they form to address a specific issue or challenge. Like yan yung mga grupo na they have solution to solve that problem, tulad ng mga committee trying to solve a problem in a community. So the next one is social action groups. So these groups are formed to make a change in society. Like they advocate for a cause or raise awareness or push for policy changes, tulad ng mga political parties, environmental groups, or human rights organizations. The next one is mediating groups. So these groups help people communicate and resolve conflicts. Think of mediators or yung conflict resolution teams. And then, next is legislative groups. So these groups make rules and laws like government bodies, board of directors, or councils. The last is client groups. So these groups are formed to help people who have similar needs or experiences, like support groups for people with mental health challenges, therapy groups, or advocacy groups for specific communities. So the second one is spontaneous formation groups. So these groups form naturally because the people enjoy being together, like they are driven by shared interests sense of belonging, or simply pleasure of spending time with like-minded individuals. Tulad ng mga social clubs, book clubs, sport clubs, like people share passion, come together to connect and pursue their interests. Yung mga friendship groups, in circle of friends, and then another one is in juvenile gangs. Yes, and third one is externally designated groups. So these groups are formed by other people based on how they see us. Like these groups are often based on external factors like race, socioeconomic status, or other social categories. Example is yung sa race, like people are grouped together based on their race, even though they might have different backgrounds, experiences, and beliefs. So they still group it based on their race. And then says socioeconomic status. These are the people who are grouped based on their wealth or income, even though they might have different values and aspire. So now let's proceed to the types of social groups. The first one we have here is the in-group and out-group. So this concept introduced by sociologist William Graham Sumner in 1906. So this is very self-explanatory and madali lang din intindihin. So the in-group is, this is any group na that we feel belong to and identify with positively. So like, ito yung kahit anong grupo na feeling natin, belong tayo tulad ng sa family natin, sa close friends, and sa favorite sports team natin. So these groups provide a sense of belonging and identity, while the out group is a group we don't belong to, like we might feel less connected to them, even a bit worried. Like this can lead to prejudice or discrimination, as we sometimes judge those outside our group. So that's how simply the in-group and out-group. So the next group is the primary and secondary group. So this concept was first introduced by Charles Horton Cooley in his book Social Organization, a study of the larger mind in 1909. So first is the primary group is like the foundation of socialization. Primary groups are small, intimate groups characterized by close, personal, and enduring relationships among members. So these groups are often formed early in life. So accordingly, this is the first group we belong. So this is the first group that we belong to. Um, so that's why it plays a crucial role in shaping an individual's personality, values, and social identity. So the defining features of primary group includes the members share deep emotional connection like face-to-face interaction, regular direct interaction like ganun, and then later is they shared values and norms like shared common beliefs, attitudes, and ways of life. So these groups are often long lasting, with members maintaining close ties over extended periods of time. So the example of primary groups is the family though. So the family is the most fundamental and common example of primary group. Like it provides the socialization, emotional support, and sense of identity. And another example is yung sa close friends natin, and also yung mga small social circles or yung mga grupo na include na yung mga neighbors or anyone na who develop close relationship through regular interaction. So the next one is secondary groups, rather. So secondary groups are larger, more impersonal groups formed for a specific purpose or goal. It is also believed that come later in life. So these groups are typically characterized by impersonal relationship, like the members interact based on specific roles and tasks rather than personal connections. So these secondary groups often have formal rules and procedures to guide their operations. Tapos dito is yung members may mga limited emotional ties, like focusing primarily on achieving shared objectives. Also, sa secondary groups are often temporary, lasting only as long as the shared goal or purpose remains. So the example of secondary groups is the workplace, like the employees in an organization come together to achieve common goals, but their relationship are primarily professional and task oriented. So Pwede yung sa community organization, like members join to address specific social issues or to promote common interests, but their relationship are typically based on shared goals rather than personal connections. So, one of its functions is task completion. Like the secondary groups are designed to achieve specific goals, such as completion project, providing services, or promoting social change. So, it is also important to note that the distinction between primary and secondary group is not always clear. Like the relationship within secondary groups can evolve over time. Like parang pwede rin maging primary group yung secondary group. Like kasi pwede ma-develop into kasi yung secondary group, pwede kasi ma-develop into closer, more personal connection. So, for instance, yung a work Play's team, initially formed for specific project, might develop into strong bonds through shared experience and collaboration, transforming it into more primary group. So, same with a university class might evolve into a group of close friends who maintain relationships and beyond academic context. Another important concept is the reference group. So it was introduced by Robert Merton. So these are groups we use as a standard for evaluating our own behavior, attitudes, and aspirations. So it provide a framework for social comparison and influence our sense of self-worth. We might look to a successful people we admire, like our peers, or even groups we want to belong to as a reference group. So, pwede yung mga K-pop, yung artist, or yung mga mayayaman, yung mga influencer na gawin nating reference groups to evaluate ourselves. So, the last group is the Gemin Scapes and Jessel Scapes. So, the German sociologist Ferdinand Tönnies distinguished between two types of social groups, the Gemenskapf and Gesellschaft. So the Gemenskapf, often translated as a community, refers to a group based on a feeling of togetherness, shared values, and strong social bonds. So, tulad ng mga small rural towns where everyone knows each other, shares traditions, and help each other out. So, while the Jessel Cups naman, often translated as society or association, refers to groups that are sustained by instrumental goals. So, tulad ng mga big city where people are more individualistic, focus on own goals, and less connected to their neighbors. So, in simple explanation, first is peer groups. Yan yung groups of individuals of relatively equal status who interact frequently and sharing similar interests and ages. And the voluntary and involuntary groups. Yung voluntary groups naman is yan yung group that individuals choose to join based on shared interests or goals. And yung involuntary groups naman is yan yung groups na yung individual are assigned to based on factors beyond their control such as yun. So, hindi niya gusto yung pag-join and wala siyang control sa pag-join na yun. Next is yung cliques. Ito yung small exclusive groups with shared interests and often informal rules. Tapos yung clubs, we are all familiar with clubs. Ito yung grupo with specific activities and a formal application of a process. And next is yung community. Ito yung groups of people with communalities and often in proximity who share a sense of belonging and continuity over time. So we also have here yung gangs. Ito yung grupo that often gather in a particular area characterized by less formality and potential for social unrest. Tapos, meron ding squads. It is a small teams working together to achieve specific goals. And tapos, yung teams naman is it is a similar to squad but potentially larger in size. Next is treatment groups. Ito yung mga grupo formed to provide support, education, growth, therapy, and socialization to individuals with shared needs. Tapos, and yung lastly is task group. So, ito yung mga grupo na formed to accomplish specific job-related activities. That's all. Thank you for watching.